Hello, hello. This is your Slavic provider of great humor, Ignacy Trzewicek from Portal Games.
And Corey Thompson from Above Board TV, Play to Z, Dies, lots of other stuff.
And this is Stephen Bonacore, the Podfather of gaming. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 367, and we're recording this on April 30th, 2025, live 30 nautical miles off the east coast of Kamchatka Peninsula, Russia. The closest I ever want to be to Russia these days. Board Games Insider is powered by Board Game Geek. I forgot where I was.
Around Kamchatka, I heard.
You heard Kamchatka, right? Every Risk player knows Kamchatka, right? That's that big peninsula. But this is amazing. So we are almost equidistant from each other. Like Corey is 9 time zones from Ignacy. Corey's in LA,
Yep.
in San Fran ish, and Ignacy's in Poland, and I'm off the coast of Kamchatka, Russia. 9 time zones, and then 8 time zones, and then 7 time zones to get back to Corey. So, wow. We
This is
go the
serious reporting. Come on, like we are reporters on the field, on different parts of the planet to give you the
I,
news.
we
I'm just at home.
we
You're doing
are
the narration. Come on, dude. Like we are
we
reporting from the field.
we are the World Board Game Network. I mean, that's almost what we are. This is crazy. Well, we have so much news to talk about. I mean, is this out? The entire world has got so much news that they want to hear from us. So right now, though, before we get to that, Ignacy, what's happening over at Portal Games?
Over at Portal Games, of course, things are happening, and of course, we are struggling with the current situation. But I want to make it very, very clear at the very beginning. I'm not whining, not complaining. I'm very open in my vlog that I record on my YouTube channel when I say it is difficult, but at least Portal Games has a division in Poland, so our existence is not the risk. Of course, it's a difficult time for Portal Games USA, but we are more or less fine. So I'm very, very sorry about my American friends and publishers. They are in a much grimmest situation. So all the news that I'm providing is like reporting, giving insight what's happening at the publishers, but I'm not whining. I'm in a much better position than
Yes.
other publishers. And now go to whining. So we are when you are listening to these words, we are 24 hours before closing the campaign for Race to Berlin, our war game. When I'm recording these words, the game is not funded yet, which is new for me. All our other games were always funded very, very quickly. And to give you once again a perspective how it is affected by the current situation, we have at this very moment, I checked yesterday in the morning, we have 102 backers from US, and with their money we would fund the game, but it is not funded because we get from them only $1. We make only a small pledge for the players from America because we have no clue what will be the shipping cost, and we don't want to take their money without being super sure that we can deliver the game for them in a reasonable price of the shipping. So if not the tariffs, the game will be funded. It is not funded yet because we respect American players and get only $1 from that. So for all of you who are listening from Europe, we need a couple of euros in this campaign in these last 24 hours to make it funded. And then later, when it is funded, we will be able to contact through Pledge Manager our American backers, our American players. We appreciate them as well, and contact them and tell them, hey, the tariffs at this very moment are this level. This is the shipping cost at this moment. Are you interested in the game? So this was happening in the crowdfunding. The other thing is that this week we decided to ship Age of Galaxy, our Gen Con release, to America. At this very moment, as we speak, the tariff level is 145%, 145. So just to give once again, just loose perception on what we are discussing. I already paid, let's say, $50,000 for production of the game. Now I'm paying $10,000 for shipping the game. And when it reaches the customs, I will have to pay another $75,000 because. So of course this is a very grim situation, but we were discussing in the company and we said it is terrible, but keeping this game in China for God knows how long will not move us to the final goal, that is releasing the game. And just waiting and waiting and losing Gen Con hype and promotion. And we decided we will see what will happen. So we are moving the games. So it will be, of course, a blow for our cash flow. It will be super, super difficult. We already paid for the production, and now we have to pay the once again at the customs. I run, and we do it on our social media, and I do it also here at the podcast for all our listeners, loyal fans, and friends who wants to support us in this vertical situation. We created a very special code for our web store that is called cash flow. Help us get the cash flow, help us raise money for the tariffs. So the code is cash flow, and hear me out. The code doesn't give you huge discount, because this is not about giving you super discount. Hey, get this game in the sale. No, this is you helping us raise money for the tariffs. So this is 25% off. I know you can get bigger discounts on different online spaces, but this is you putting this code in our web store and saying, Ignacy, we support you. Ignacy, we help you raise the funds for the tariff. So this is it. I give 25% off, but it is most you giving me money to survive this situation. So buy anything you want from us, Detective, Robinson Crusoe, Playmat, whatever you give us some dollars, it will help us a lot. So I appreciate that. So cash flow is a code to put in our in a cart in a web store, and I appreciate every order from you guys these days, because Age of Galaxy is on the ship, and I'm about to pay a lot of money to American government.
Well, I am back. So I've spent the past 2 weeks, probably more, traveling. Just got back from the gathering of friends in Niagara Falls. So last night, late, I got back to the Sacramento area, and I'm now home. Gathering was absolutely amazing. It started out as Friends of Alan's invite only convention. I went wide-eyed and amazed at all the games and everything that I saw, but now it really is a gathering of friends for me. It's when
Yeah.
I go, it is social. There are so many friends there, and it feels so amazing to be in one hotel playing games, visiting, eating, doing touristy things with my friends. I'm sad that it's going to be another year before the next gathering of friends, but I had an absolutely amazing time. The games were incredible. I got to play the latest in the trilogy of games from Fabio Lopiano, which is IR. And it was so good. Fabio taught it. Such a nice guy. It's from Fabio Lopiano and Mandela Fernandez Grandon and Osprey Games. It is a fantastic one. Now I'm getting ready for the next trip. I have a number of little get-togethers happening at the house in Napa. But the next big trip is going to be RageCon, the Reno Area Gaming Expo. So if you're in the area, RageCon is the end of June. It's June 27th to 29th. It has an absolutely amazing designer and prototype contingent. There's going to be a lot of friends there. It'll be really great. And if you're there, hopefully I'll see you. In addition, after RageCon, designer Daryl Andrews is going to be staying with me at the Napa House for several weeks. So we're going to probably have people in and out and just basically have summer camp. It'll be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. So that's as much as my 3/4 dead cottage cheese brain can put out at this early hour.
And it's pretty good. Over here at the Podfather.
So I want to mention that the only person who is conscious enough to run the podcast is the guy who doesn't speak English. This is professional.
This is true. This is true.
Because it's way past my bedtime here at 11:40 now p.m. We were almost on different days, which is kind of great too, right? It would have been great if I would have been on May 1st and you guys on April 30th, which could happen at some point. But anyway, I am executing my retirement plan as people who are watching this see. I do have a retirement plan. I plan on wine tasting. That's what my t-shirt says to me. I'm having a great time here on this crazy epic cruise. We're on the second leg. That first leg was Singapore to Vietnam to Hong Kong, Taiwan, South Korea, and then Tokyo. And now Tokyo to Aomori, Hakodate. We're missing one of the ports, sadly, because of various reasons on the ship. And now on our way. We're at the last part of this, but it's still like 10 days to get to Seattle. Literally, we're off the coast of Kamchatka, Russia right now, and going to be going into the northern part of the Aleutian Islands and then back south. That's how they do it to get
Wow.
across to back to Seattle. It's once in a lifetime epic cruise, as I've been mentioning. Sadly, the seas are very, very rough. We're missing where there's a typhoon very close to us. It's developing into a typhoon, a hurricane, what we call it. Typhoons over here. So the seas are very rough. So I can't really play games right now because even me, who's not that, doesn't get seasick very much, will start to feel it if I'm like looking at a
Oh
board and
my
trying
God.
to, yeah. Yeah, Ignacy would be dying right now. He would just forget it.
I never planned to go on the cruise, but now I'm even more not planning it. Like, really,
You don't have to go into the Pacific Ocean to have a cruise. There's plenty of much calmer places to go. But anyway, I've been posting on Facebook every day. So if you are listening to this and you want to really see what we've done and the pictures are amazing, go over to my personal Facebook timeline. And literally, I'm committed to one a day, and I've sometimes done a couple a day on what's going on here.
Hmm.
You can check that out if you'd like. We have so much news. We must get to the event deck. So, guys, I'm entitling this episode CMON and Tariffs and the Diamond Bankruptcy. Oh my, because we
I
have just keep getting more and more news
I think
from
we should
these
just
things.
title it Dumpster Fire.
The industry is sort of on fire right now, which is really, really sad. We don't want to make light of it, but at the same point, we got to bring it to you and give it to you because it's serious stuff going on. Right after we gave you last episode our kind of exclusive, we had an exclusive interview with CMON. CMON then released the same information to everybody, but they added that there's going to be big layoffs at the company. Ignacy, you wanted to say something?
I want to just mention one thing before we go into the
Mm-hmm.
event very, very deeply. I want
Mm-hmm.
to say thank you and shout out to one of our listeners, Patrick, who quoted us on social media on Blue Sky and said that we are doing amazing reporting and our last episode was very, very interesting. And so kudos to Patrick. And I want to encourage all our other listeners, if you find our reporting valuable, please share information about our podcast. I think in these crazy days, we really, besides silly jokes, give some value, explaining what the hell is going on in the industry. So thank you, Patrick, for sharing our podcast, and encourage all other our listeners do the same.
No,
Yeah,
thank
thank you very much.
Thank you for that. And everybody out there, thank you. Yeah, I actually got over 800 views almost immediately on the YouTube channel for the podcast, which is I get that many often, but I don't get them like within the first like less than a week. It was really big. So the first story is about CMON again, and I mentioned that this is about their layoffs. They announced officially to the world that they were going to halt any new campaigns in Kickstarter, focus on delivering the stuff that they've promised they're going to do, but they have also added that they will be undergoing some major layoffs, getting rid of all of their creative staff, all of their developers that they have that are part of the company. And the quote from the company that ICV2 had was, given global conditions and most notably the situation with tariffs, CMON has decided to focus on our current commitments to our customers and partners and prioritize the timely delivery of existing products. So it's not good out there for a lot of companies. Tariffs plus economics has made CMON say, okay, putting the brakes on here. We're going to focus only on our current projects, not go to our new projects. And
I
any new
do want to
projects.
say that Zombicide White Death has shipped to me, so at least that one is fulfilling. But there are 10 projects in development, in production, or in transit, and they're a little unclear on timing. Some may be delayed, but definitely no new projects going on.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
if I may, because I work with CMON very closely for years, so couple of context information. First of all, the good news in this terrible news, the good news for our listeners to players is that these mentioned 10 projects, apparently they are ready and fully developed. Because if you are unfortunately letting go developers, that means that
sure.
you developed everything. So for backers, for the players, from their perception, it's good that these games are already developed and only they need to be produced and shipped. So this is only one good information in this situation. CMON had two big development teams. They had one in Brazil, one in Asia.
Hmm.
Back then, our listeners remember when we were reporting that Eric Lang was hired by CMON and he worked for CMON for 3 years, building these teams, practicing them, teaching them how
Yep.
to develop games. There were two great teams of people who created amazing, amazing games. Uh, I don't understand what is the long-term strategy. Once again, Simon is my very close partner, so I don't want to be too controversial here at this very moment. But it's difficult to now lay off developers and then, let's say, in 2 years, bring them back or find new developers or ask Eric Lang to once again to train new people to be a developer. So in the long run, this is very, very difficult and very grim news. What will happen in the future? As I said, in a tactical these days information, it is good for the players, and most likely you will get your games
Yep.
because they are developed.
That's a great message to state there that current projects have been developed and CMON intends to deliver those. Anything in the future, that's a whole nother story. The next set of stories is all under the Diamond bankruptcy. And over the last week, this has been ongoing and developing, and more stuff has come out. And Ignacy needs to get in here again. Go ahead, Ignacy.
Very short. I want to say that for the past few weeks, I was complaining in my head, not vocally, but in my head, that this is so freaking boring and nobody cares about what's happening with Diamond. But with this new turn of the events, even
Oh
I got
yeah.
interested. This is now like a real spy story. It's interesting.
It's turned
So
into a soap opera.
yeah. Now I'm in. Like I got after these few episodes. Now I'm all in. Tell me what's happening.
And
It's amazing.
and again, we're making a little bit of light because we do want to have fun with you out there, right? I mean, that's part of what we do here. I think we try to
Entertainment.
entertain you. But the serious news here, right, is that Diamond Comics, who own Alliance Game Distributors, is bankrupt. We've been reporting on that for weeks, months, but it keeps getting very, very deep and different. A company called Alliance Entertainment, no relation to Alliance Game Distributors, came in and was going to buy all of Diamond Comics, at least all of their North American assets. They have now terminated that agreement. A little bit from ICV2 on this. Alliance Entertainment has terminated the agreement to purchase Diamond Comics distributors, the company said in an SEC filing. So all this stuff goes to the government, to the federal government of the U.S., the SEC, since they are a publicly traded company, Alliance Entertainment, they've got to file this stuff with the SEC. And they said that the company sent a notice of termination to Diamond Comic Distributors Incorporated, Diamond, terminating the previously executed asset purchase agreement to acquire substantially all of the assets of Diamond through a court-supervised bankruptcy process. The termination was effective immediately. At
Now
first,
remember,
go ahead.
Alliance Entertainment sued for the right to buy Diamond Comics, and now they've just spontaneously dropped out.
At first, we did not understand why this was happening. And remember, there was a backup bidder, and that was the Canadian distributor, Universal Distribution, and also NECA and WizKids, which is the subsidiary of NECA. They were also part of that. So Alliance Entertainment leaves the picture. And was Universal going to come in? Stay tuned. Then we got information
Next episode.
in the next episode of this ongoing thing. We get information about the call, because you can't just say, I'm going to bid, I'm not going to bid, right? I'm going to buy, I'm signing, I'm not going to do it. But then we find out a bit more in the next filings from the in the court. In the wake, again on ICV2, they're doing amazing reporting on this. In the wake of the surprising news that Alliance Entertainment had terminated its agreement to purchase Diamond Comic Distributors, we reviewed what might be the cause for termination, and it looked at what might be Diamond Comics' business if the backup bidders ended up acquiring the company. First, why did they terminate? They were allowed to terminate for the following reasons. If the purchaser and the seller agree, that was not the case. But the purchaser, if the closing had not occurred on or before April 25th, which is right around when they said we're out, the purchaser could also do it if the seller files to sell the assets to another purchaser, right? So if they got rid of part of their company, well, then they can say I'm out. If the Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is what they were in, which is considered a reorganization, they're reorganizing the company, selling parts, but they're going to stay in business, is converted to a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which means they are liquidating. Hold that thought for a second, because we're going to get back to Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Or if the order approving the sale of the purchaser is not reasonably acceptable to the purchaser in some manner. And that's where this is all going to come in. Or if the seller breaches the terms of the agreement, that as well.
And that as well. Yep.
Yeah.
We need Jake to do amazing soundtrack and like dramatic music. You know, this is show. This is the real story.
Yeah, exactly. So we had all these possible reasons, with two of them being, well, those sound like they're really, really possible. Okay. And then it continues. The trustee, the person who's sort of in charge of trying to move this bankruptcy forward and get Diamond Comic Distributors sold off, then says, we have to convert this now from a Chapter 11 reorganization bankruptcy to a Chapter 7 that I just mentioned, liquidation. This means that in the end now, no one will own any part of Diamond Comic Distributors, and that means Alliance Game Distribution. All of it's going to be sold off now. So Diamond,
vultured, sold off for parts,
just
liquidated.
sold off for parts. And so let me read a little bit about this third portion of this, right? The trustee in the Diamond Comics Distribution Chapter 11 bankruptcy case filed a motion asking the judge to convert this to a Chapter 7 liquidation or to dismiss the Chapter 11 case. The trigger for the filing was Diamond's failure to submit required monthly operating reports to the court for January, February, and March. And that's also part of the whole Alliance Entertainment
Keep in
not
mind,
buying.
Diamond is not saying, oh my, we have to go from reorganization to liquidation. This is the trustee. These are the people in charge of the bankruptcy are saying, hey, you need to liquidate.
Exactly. And Diamond could avoid the consequences requested by the trustee's motion if they can show that converting is not in the best interest of the creditors, right? The creditors are the people who are owed money. Or they can show that a plan will be confirmed within a specified time frame, or they can show that their failure to file the reports had a good reason or will be cured. It appears that the second option is the most likely, as Diamond released a statement today confirming that it would not be moving forward with Alliance Entertainment, those are the buyers in a moment ago, as the acquirer of its assets, and will be moving forward with unnamed second acquirers, presumably the backup Canadian distributor Universal and NECA and WizKids. So, okay, but the plot continues.
Remember, all of this happened within like the last 4 days.
All of this is like 1 day apart, and then 1 day apart, and then 1 day apart.
I cannot wait for the soundtrack for this episode. Like, Jake is going to make it amazing show.
But wait,
there's more. There's four pieces of this, and the fourth and final thing is that Alliance Entertainment, those were the guys that were coming in and buying Diamond Comics, is now suing Diamond Comics again because they had sued a couple of weeks ago when we talked about it previously. Diamond Comics didn't want to be owned by Alliance Entertainment. They wanted to really go with Universal. So they were trying to back away from the better offer that Alliance Entertainment was making. Alliance Entertainment sued, and the judge agreed and said, no, you got to go with them. They got the best offer. It's best for the creditors. Now, they're getting the Alliance Entertainment is suing Diamond again, along with the investment bank, the restructuring consultants, and Alliance game distributor executives. So, listen to this one. Again, ICV2, thank you. In a blockbuster filing late Monday, and this is yesterday, guys, this is yesterday, Alliance Entertainment sued Diamond Comic Distributors and related companies for a second time, and this time also sued the investment bank Raymond James, huge bank, huge investment bank, restructuring consultants Getzler, Heinrich, and Associates, along with the chief restructuring officer Robert Gurin personally, and Alliance Game Distributors co-CEOs Charlie Tyson and Dan Hirsch. Just for the record, when you go to sue, and it's such a complicated thing, you normally sue every person possible, and you see which one sticks. That is kind of common, in this kind of stuff. So they might not have a case really against Raymond James, but you know what? They said maybe they are complicit in all the BS that's going on here.
But why are they suing?
Let me read why they're suing.
This is the best.
This is the best. This is the best. The lawsuit alleges that the defendants, that's Diamond Comics, intentionally concealed the fact that the distribution contract between Alliance Game Distributors and Wizards of the Coast was ending after the asset purchase agreement was signed and approved by the court.
So they sold... they were preparing to sell Alliance Distribution, 25% of whose income is selling, let's just put it, Magic cards.
Yes, exactly. And
they were never told that the contract to sell Magic cards was ending at the sale.
But wait, there's more. It just doesn't end the story. On April 17th, 8 days before the deal was to close, Diamond disclosed to Alliance Entertainment, the buyer, that the agreement with Wizards of the Coast would expire on April 30th and would not be renewed. Alliance Game Distributor executives and other Diamond representatives contended that the termination of the agreement was a surprise to them. Oh, it's a surprise. The jig was up, according to the complaint, on April 21st when a video conference was held between Alliance Entertainment, that's the acquirer, Wizards of the Coast, and representatives of Diamond Comic Distributors, including Tyson, Hirsch, and Gurin. In that conference, WotC President John Haidt and Vice President of Global Revenue and Wizards Play Network Brian Trunk explained that WotC had decided in December of 2024 to terminate the distribution agreement because sales to Alliance distributors had declined over 8% over the previous 4 years during a time of increasing sales overall, the complaint alleged. Extensions were granted by WotC through April 30th to assist in the bankruptcy case and to induce the debtors to grant WotC critical vendor status. In other words, they wanted to be there. Hey, you still owe us money, so I'm going to let you sell our cards, but we want our money that you still owe us. Efforts were made to salvage the deal. According to the filing, Alliance Entertainment made a proposal to Wizards of the Coast with inducements to continue selling to them after the sale, but Wizards declined. There were also some discussions between...
There's also, from Board Game Wire, they just hours ago put out a summary of a lot of this.
Oh my God.
They have some details in there that are just amazing.
Oh.
So the lawsuit alleges that when the true nature of WotC's canceled agreement came to light via unredacted documents on April 17th, Diamond feigned outrage, calling the termination shocking, coming out of nowhere, and a slap in the face. Yeah. But there's proof that it already had been set in motion 4 months earlier.
You can't make this crap up. I mean, it is a soap opera of business people trying to pull the wool over other business people's eyes who've got huge, powerful lawyers that love to sue. And these guys thought they were going to get away with this. So
They did for like a day.
They did for a little while. So this is why Alliance Entertainment is suing everyone, including personally suing executives. Except us. We are not being sued, and we are okay. Don't worry. Everyone.
Yes.
I didn't check my mail today.
Who knows? So I mean, they're citing everybody there. They're citing the amounts of money now that they've had to spend just to execute all of these contracts to get it ready for the purchase. And now that it's all gone, and they want their money back now too. Gentlemen,
it's just insane. And I think the biggest thing about this, aside from now Diamond has to be liquidated, is Diamond is essentially tainted goods. I mean, one company went to buy Diamond and then immediately dropped it like a hot potato and showed that the value is nowhere near what it was. So the value of Diamond has just dropped significantly. If anyone looks to salvage or piecemeal or buy off, the value just isn't there anymore.
I'm not going to speculate, but I really, really think there's going to be very deep ramifications to everything we just said here. Diamond Comics is now going to be sold for significantly less than it would have if this deal had gone through, or if the Universal deal had gone through. And none of that looks like it's going to happen now. And even if it does, it's going to be smaller amounts,
pennies on the dollar,
and there's going to be big ramifications. And I'm not going to speculate on what those will be. I have them in my head. Corey knows what they are. I believe Ignacy knows what they are. Let's see how it plays out in the end. I feel
this is literally fast moving.
Yeah.
Several of these news stories released today or yesterday.
Yeah. I was the first person to find out about
April 30th.
Yeah, today being April 30th, and the one where we found out Alliance Entertainment was creating a lawsuit was yesterday, and I found it out because I woke up first before you guys did, and then I was texting you guys in the morning as you guys were waking up. This is just insane what's happening in this realm.
I think I texted you while you were sleeping.
Maybe you did. I don't know. It's not about who did it first. We're up 24/7 these days.
That is true.
That's absolutely true.
At least until I get off this damn ship.
Woken up.
We have shifts around the planet.
We are now CNN. We got people on all corners of the globe. But
oh my goodness.
yeah, no. And again, to bring it back to a little bit of seriousness, there's a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. That's not good. Even if they're companies, big companies, that's not good. There's a lot of people going to lose jobs. Very bad. Normal people, very bad. But those people who did this on purpose, they should be prosecuted. I mean, because this looked like true fraud was being perpetrated. And if that's the case, this becomes a criminal thing. I'm not saying that's what happened, but it doesn't look good for certain people who are hiding information.
And I would ask also to give a little bit context what it means for our listener, for the player from Dallas or whatever other place in America, because for these past 10 years we were explaining there is 5 big distributors in America, with Alliance being the biggest, and we were doing this over and over and over with every single news. And for the past few months or weeks, we were reporting that Alliance will be bought by other company and everything will be intact and nothing will change in the long run. I got my confirmation from PSI, who is my master distributor, that they are putting everything is okay, that we should not worry, that they are in this contact with Alliance and things will be okay. And apparently they will not be okay. And the information for all the players, one of the distributors probably will not be there.
Yeah, exactly. So, to say the least, stay tuned for more insanity. It's not over. It's not over. Let's move into the tariffs now, which are near and dear to everyone's heart. This continues to plague everybody. More great reporting on behalf of ICV2. They give a roundup about a few different things that were going on. This dropped about 1 week ago, right after our last episode. But to bring it all into perspective, we reported that it was possible that RPG books, which at one point people thought were exempt, and then people thought were not exempt from tariff. Well, yes, they were exempt, not exempt, because books themselves are exempt. And now apparently the official ruling is that RPGs will be exempt. At least that's what we see here in their reporting. As books, RPG rule books are exempt from the new China tariffs. Great news for that part of the game's business. The ruling only applies to rule books when imported separately and does not cover other items needed to play a game. For example, dice, maps, figures, record sheets, according to the ruling. And this ruling comes from the U.S. Customs Service. So that's where this is coming from. It was ruled in 2024. So that's the latest ruling. We have found out, of course, that Stonemaier Games joined a lawsuit to challenge the president's unchecked authority. This is a quote, to challenge the president's unchecked authority to impose tariffs. And that was stated by Jamie Stegmaier in a blog post. And they said, quote, he said, quote, we will not stand by idly while our livelihoods and the livelihoods of thousands of small business owners and contractors in the U.S., along with the customers whose pursuit of happiness we hold dear, are treated like pawns in a political game.
That's the lawsuit is being done by the Pacific Legal Foundation, which is self-described as a public interest law firm that defends Americans' liberties when threatened by government overreach and abuse. And it is a massive, massive lawsuit. Several companies from the board gaming industry have joined this lawsuit, to the point where there are actually too many people right now who've joined the lawsuit. So they are not taking more people in, but they are taking evidence. They're taking lists of
Right.
people as evidence that have been adversely affected.
Right. And as far as we know, this lawsuit is not looking for damages at the moment. It's just looking to have the tariffs removed because they are a threat to businesses, and the authority by which they're doing this is not fair. Is not right. The argument is that
the law says that tariffs like this can only be done as an act of Congress.
Right.
And Trump has enacted these tariffs via executive order without Congress's approval. And the reasoning is a state of emergency. And that's where the real argument comes from.
Right.
Is there actually a state of an emergency, or was this a loophole clause from a very old law to be able to enact the tariffs without Congress?
Right.
That's the essence of the lawsuit. Very
well stated. And a very interesting point about, you mentioned the Pacific Legal Foundation. This is not, Joe Blow legal, firm. The Pacific Legal Foundation describes itself as a public interest law firm.
I read that part.
But the next part is the interesting part.
Yes.
It's argued, in my opinion, the next part is it's argued 20 cases at the Supreme Court since its founding in 1973, and it is 18 wins and 2 losses. I found that to be serious. So these guys are, not fly by night, hey, let's try to make some money by suing the president of the United States.
No, this is real. This is real.
This is a real thing that's going on right now. All right, but of course, it's not only companies like Stonemaier Games that's involved. Brandon Sanderson, with the single largest crowdfunding campaign in gaming, of course, of all times, they released a statement. The Brotherwise released a statement on how they're dealing with the tariffs for the Brandon Sanderson big campaign. And right now, it's not coming up for me. So if you guys
Yes, it
can,
is.
okay, there
Yes,
you go.
they have a similar concept like AIG. So they say everything is intact. The production of the books is okay. Every backer will get PDF of the books that they backed, but for the physical versions, all backers from Europe, other places will get their books, but American players, your shipping will be on hold, and it is very interesting information, and you will get these books 2 months after the tariffs are removed. So they know that it takes 2 months to ship from China
Right.
to
Yeah.
America. So they very very openly, when the tariffs are gone, 2 months later you have
Right.
your book on your porch. But as for now, everything is on hold. Which is a lot of backers because we reported this
Yeah.
Kickstarter. It was the biggest in the history ever.
Right. Right.
Let me just insert really quickly. There was of course, gathering of friends. It's all publishers and designers, and everybody's so deeply involved. The talk at the gathering of friends really was around what to do about the tariff situation. There's two trains of thought. We mentioned it last time, but a lot of the Chinese manufacturers are actually now opening side businesses of warehousing.
Yes.
So if you have your game made in China, that manufacturer now will have attached warehousing where you can store your games in China until until the chaos settles out, something is determined to be reasonable or permanent. It'll settle there. But the other thing people are really talking about are duty-free warehousing within the United States. There is a very small subset of warehousing in the United States where you can have your goods made in China brought to the US and stored in a special bonded duty-free warehouse. And it sits there in the US. The shipping's been done, but it's not allowed to leave that warehouse until the tariffs are paid. So right now there seems to be a run on finding these US based duty-free zones and using those for storage rather than storing in China. That's the current scuttlebutt
I,
from Gathering of Friends
Yeah, I
people.
know a little bit about that. Yeah, as you said, they're called bonded warehouses. Those warehouses are meant for goods that arrive here, but are not for the U.S. consumer. So, in other words, if you're using it as an in-transit point to get it
Right.
someplace else, to get it from the U.S. to Canada, get the U.S. to South America, you can do it without paying a tariff here because it's in transit someplace else. I would be surprised if there was a way to, unless you can leave it there until there were no tariffs and then bring it into the US, but I don't know how
There
that
were a
would work.
lot of publishers
Yep.
working out how to use these bonded warehouses for this situation.
Well, you and I are going to talk about that after this show, I think. So that's very interesting. I like that. I like that idea.
Guys, I need to go. We
You,
discussed this before recording. It's 45 minutes of recording. So, dear listeners, there is no more Slavic in this podcast anymore, only positive energy.
Uh,
But I have to pick up my son, so I need to go.
uh,
I discussed it with guys before recording. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being awesome listener.
yeah.
Please share our podcast. A lot of value and silly jokes in every episode. And please consider supporting Portal Games at our website. The cash flow is the code for you to
Use
support us.
that.
Yes, I leave you, gentlemen. Have a great rest of the show and talk to you next week.
Thank you, Ignacy. We will continue without you. It's very difficult to do so, but we'll try. Okay.
Take care.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Okay.
See you, Nasi.
So, yeah, Ignacy had mentioned he had to go to us before we started. So he got his 45 minutes in. We got so much news here. We're probably only going to do the news and then I can go to bed because it's just so much going on here. And we want Ignacy here for other things anyway. So, the next part of the tariff situation is that, guess what? This affects everyone, like even Hasbro. So on ICV2, they reported that faced with tariffs, Hasbro has raised the guidance for Wizards of the Coast after a blowout first quarter. So what they said was, despite tariffs at the highest level since the Great Depression, Hasbro raised guidance for the year. Raised guidance means they have raised their profit predictions to, and they use the word guidance because they're guiding those who follow their stock, not only people like you and me possibly, but like the professional traders. So they guide them into where they believe they're going. So they've raised the guidance after a blowout first quarter, with strong orders coming from Magic the Gathering products. One reason for the optimism was WotC's low exposure to tariffs. Interesting, with expectations for roughly 10 million in tariffs for the year, which for them is not nearly as much as like a 10 million for like another type of company.
What this could lead to is the reason we have so much trouble with tariffs is that manufacture of board games happens in China because we cannot manufacture board games in the US. The one exception to this are cards. There is a decent amount of card manufacture in the US. And I suspect that the Magic cards are going to be produced in the US to avoid the tariff.
Right. They specifically say the Magic the Gathering products are sourced from North Carolina and Texas in the U.S. and from Kyoto, Japan. The biggest contributor to the $10 million in tariffs that WotC is predicting will be from Dungeons and Dragons box sets, which are manufactured in China. So,
right. I got overexcited.
You're very overexcited. But this is really so you can just see how this very large company, right, Hasbro, which makes cards not in China and makes role-playing books possibly in China, but books are exempt, we found out now. But their box sets would not be exempt, apparently, and they would be then subject to, they're predicting about 10 million in tariffs, which is, while not insignificant, is not a huge amount of money for a company like Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. So everybody's subject to this stuff, but some people are getting hit more than others. Another casualty of tariffs apparently is Boardlandia Online. Okay, Corey, if you don't mind, why don't you take this one for us?
Absolutely. So Boardlandia has been a fixture for a long time. It's been a large online retail board game store, and they announced that it is closing due to recently imposed tariffs. This is from ICP2 again. The company announced the closure on their website, citing that their business had faced a series of significant and increased challenges over the last few years. The final blow that caused them to close up shop was the recent round of tariffs that added, quote, an unsustainable burden to these existing pressures and left the company no way of continuing forward. So we say a sad goodbye to Boardlandia Online, another victim of the fire that the industry's in right now.
The fire that they are literally in right now. Sad to see that happen. Very, very sad. We had something here that Ignacio was specifically going to talk about, but we're going to leave that one, of course, for when he's back next week. And it's a little bit of his own investigative journalism, so it's going to be great. But we have one more story not related to CMON or bankruptcy or tariffs. Yeah. This is an interesting one.
Prosperity from far away.
Go ahead, Corey. Go for it.
So Hachette Games, who for a while was on a really strong acquisition trend, especially within France. Hachette Games has acquired 999 Games. Again, ICV2 says Hachette Board Games has acquired a game distributor in a market also served by a distributor acquired by Asmodee. The distributor is 999 Games based in the Netherlands and is serving the Netherlands and Belgium. So 999 has a number of different titles. One of my favorites was a cooperative card game that was put in front of me at the Berlin when I was visiting Berlin, called The Brain. But 999 is not insignificant. 999 has been around for a while, and now they are part of the Hachette family.
Yeah, and they are a publisher as well as a distributor in the
Yeah,
Netherlands. Nice, good people, and as you said, they have been around for a very long time. Um, and I think this is actually good news for a change for the industry that
well, it
um,
shows prosperity for
yeah,
sure.
right, that they're coming
It's a
back.
little bit of hope.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's a good way of putting it. A little bit of hope that, you know what,
Yeah,
maybe we can survive all of this and a big company like Hachette says, hey, you know what? And we're going to invest in this other company. We're going to buy them, invest in them, and make them part of
I
our
can
family.
tell you 999 is a family-owned business founded in 1990, based in Amsterdam. It specializes in distributing board games in the Netherlands and Belgium, and each year it sells approximately 2.5 million
Yeah.
games, distributed across more than 1,000 physical retail locations.
Not insignificant. They're a pretty big thing. I almost did some business with them at one time. Good guys. I really enjoyed talking to them. Corey, I think we're going to wait since we have gone very long already with all this amazing news. We'll skip again. Sorry, everybody out there who's asking questions, and you guys are asking us questions for strategy and tactics. We're now into just at the end of the year. We'll be in the 2025 questions within the next week. But we're going to skip it this week again because of the news was so long. But let's go over to play testing. So last week, Corey, I asked the question because it's part,
You did, you
and it was
did.
part of this whole um, thing that we're talking about, with tariffs
If we
and
have to ask.
we should ask questions and we said hobby game prices will be going up if tariffs for Chinese goods remain in place, particularly at tariffs rates 145%, which is currently the announced rate. If hobby game prices go up by 100%, say they go up by 100%, the prices themselves for the games you buy, prices double. Will you continue to buy the same number of games as you've been? Half the number of games that you've been? Very few or no further? Or are you going to use some other calculation for your hobby game purchases? Corey, we had a lot of answers for this one. I don't know if you saw that. I mean,
Oh yeah,
we
it
had
is full.
fully over a full page. Anything spark your eye while you were shifting through them?
I think one thing that we really have to keep in mind is actually the very first response Gavin Kenny wrote. The thing is that these tariffs only apply to US customers. So, in theory, the prices shouldn't be going up for the rest of the world. So, I doubt that this will much affect me in the UK. However, if hypothetically the UK government lost its head and decided to do the same thing as the US, I think I'd still buy games, but be a lot pickier on which ones I did buy. So, of course, Stephen and I are very much in the middle of it, being in the US, doing business in the US, and well, buying games in the US. But we need to remember that this is a US policy problem.
Right.
And yes, it's a problem. So
Yeah.
we need to keep the perspective on this.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I want to mention Ann W, which she said here, though, which kind of counters that, but I agree with you. It is basically the U.S. consumer that's going to have the biggest problem. But she says, I'm pretty surprised to hear that people think U.S. tariffs won't affect them because they're outside the U.S. The fact that the person asking the question is in Poland seems like a pretty big hint that yes, it will remain. Well, I think Ignacy posted it, and so that's why he asked it.
Well,
It's really
certainly
my
the
question.
industry will be greatly affected because a large portion of the sales will be to the US
Right,
for any publisher.
right.
So the consumers will majority be affected within the US. The publishers will be affected globally.
Right, right. Um, Other people like Brian Carroll said, short answer, I'd likely buy very few to none and would end up buying used games I've not played instead of newer titles. So that's a very good way, right? So people will be selling
Yeah.
games, and that's a good way of picking up games.
And Aaron Pope says, I'm definitely pumping the brakes, though I'm sure that I'll pick up a few new and or secondhand items from Origins. In
Right.
general, though, I'm looking to scale back acquisitions and make a concerted effort to chip away at my shelf of opportunity for the foreseeable future. It's even possible that I'll end up selling more games than I purchased this year.
Jay Atkinson said I was already starting to limit myself before all the tariff bugaloo hit, so I'll definitely reduce my purchases. By how much? I don't know. I'll have to wait to see how bad things get. Some games will be automatic purchases, like a couple of GMT games I've been helping to play test. So he'll be more selective. And it sounds like that was the general idea about everybody. What do you think? I mean, it
It's
sounded like
the
a,
majority
yeah,
is I will still shop, but man, I'm going to shop a lot less.
right.
There's a little bit of discussion about people traveling a little more and picking up games while they travel and doing things along those lines. Um, Stephen Chivers definitely was. It'd be naive of me to consider that because I'm in Australia, I'm immune to price changes. I would assume most publishers would increase cost across the board to lessen the impact in one country. So I expect recommended retail price to go up significantly. That is a very
Yeah.
good point that the publishers are going to have a lot of trouble, and globally the
Yeah.
prices will fluctuate because of that.
Right. I want to thank Marshall S. because he gives this huge
Oh, it's a
response. Really,
fantastic one. I was thinking about how to
yeah,
approach that.
yeah. It's too much for us to actually talk about. But he breaks it down for what's going to happen with his crowdfunding purchases, with he's maybe purchasing locally, and he talks about like the math behind the way Jamie Stegmaier at Stonemaier Games illustrated that the pass-through option for U.S. channel partners and how much more they're going to pay. So I was just a big thank you, and because this took a long time to make a post like this.
Yeah.
So thank you
And
for putting that
this
out
is a
there.
really important point is the tariff is an extra fee. You can almost think of it as an extra shipping fee. So the two strategies people talk about is they can pass it like a shipping fee all the way to the end consumer and just add this extra cost. However, retail can't really afford to do that because the bits that people get paid all along the chain in retail would dissolve. They'd be gone. So for retail, that little fee has to be applied at the beginning and has to go through all of the retail multipliers. So he's comparing the pass-through scenario where the fee for tariffs is put all the way at the end to the full multiplier scenario where every step of the way that tariff is involved and multiplied through. And I think Kickstarter can survive with a pass-through scenario, but retail cannot.
Very well stated. Corey, why don't you tell us what this week's question is going to be? Because it was your question.
All right.
It was your
Was it my
question.
question?
I
My
know.
question.
Back to you.
I thought you were doing all the questions now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm so good at it. No.
So this is kind of along the same lines.
Yep.
So everybody has a different level of what they consider is an expensive game, what they consider is a cheap game. So the official question is, what is the price level that is the dividing line for you between a not expensive game and an expensive game? Is it $50, $60, 70, 80? Is it less than that? Is it more than that?
Yep.
Where does that line sit
Yeah.
for you?
So while if I want the game, I'm going to buy the game, and I'm going to thank goodness I'm in a good position that I could do that. If I just want it, I buy it. But I'm always thinking in my head, if a game is like 60, that's like the thing where that separates from like in my head something that's almost impulse, inexpensive, under that to like, this is starting to become an expensive game. So, 60 or less, kind of, yeah, I can just pick that one up. More than that, it's like, this is now kind of expensive. Now I buy plenty of games above that, but I buy plenty of games below that too. So that's just my number. I think every person is going to have sort of a different like, where do I sit on that realm? Corey, what is
I kind
it?
of
Do you have a
sit on
number?
that. I kind of sit on that $60, $70 mark
Yeah.
as the divider between a less expensive game and a more expensive game. And this question actually came through from the video game world, which is kind of going nuts right now. The Switch 2 is about to release, and they also said that the games for the Switch 2 have jumped up a quota. There's been a standard price for video games for quite a while. It was $60. All of the main large AAA games were $60 forever. And then they jumped kind of softly to 75 and people got upset. But now I think with tariffs and the new systems and everything like that, they're talking about 100 and $120 games. So the video game world is really intensely discussing what is the standard price. And I'm kind
Right.
of getting at that now with this question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I've already created a thread for everyone to go answer that because I'm
Oh, you're so
good.
good.
Because I'm good. So please go over to our guild on BGG and find our playtesting thread for this question and post your answer there. And in the meantime, let's get to the final scoring. I have a very sexy voice, don't I? It's getting
Oh
deep.
my God, yeah. I can't wait for it every
It's getting
week.
and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper as I get more tired and tired and tired. It's 12. You realize it's now 12:31 a.m. on May
I've
1st.
never seen you that awake that late.
It's May 1st and it's still April 30th and it's still like 7:30
Yes,
a.m. in the morning.
30 a.m. Yep.
Yes, 7:30 in the morning for you on April 30th. It is 12:30 a.m. on May 1st for me. It's time travel. It's so fun. Thank you all so much for listening and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. Do you want to be part of this podcast? You can. Go to the guild. Make sure you sign up. Become a member. Ask us questions for strategy and tactics there. Answer our questions to you from our playtesting segment. And it's so easy to do this. You can. Do it for us. Interact with us on social media. The handle's the same on all the platforms: Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, YouTube. Just go there. It's Board Games Insider, Portal Games US, Podfather Gaming, Dice Tower Dish, Play2Z Games, and Above Board TV. And when you put things up there, we'll be the ones responding directly to you. And of course, check out the websites, which also go by the same names. Special call out to those YouTube channels, which are named in full: Portal Game Studio, The Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. We really love to see you in person at an upcoming convention. For Corey, that's RageCon. For me,
Absolutely.
so go see him. Not sure if I'm making Origins yet. Trying. We'll see what happens. Things to do. Thank you again, Jake Thompson, for being part of the team and professionally editing this podcast. Also, that great voice you hear doing the intro, the outro, and the in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee, good buddy of mine. He can be contacted to do your voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. This brings us to the end of another wonderful episode. Corey Thompson, do you have anything that you would like to say here? I see that Ignacy has again put something here at the back end of this to go and back Berlin. But yes, go back his campaign Berlin and on his website use the discount code. What was it called again?
Cash flow.
Cash flow. Use that discount code. We want to help Ignacy out. Anything else to report, Corey? What a great time.
Not too
I
much. It's been a whirlwind. An amazing, fun whirlwind of friends and games, having an absolutely amazing time.
That's it.
So now it is time for sleep and rest. And
And we'll be back to you again next week with, I bet, more incredible news. Hopefully, some questions from you as well. Until then, thank you all so much for being part of this podcast. It means a lot to us. Bye bye, everybody.
see you, everyone.